Hey guys, good morning. Red and black greetings. This is Flamengo. Welcome to the Paparazzo Rubro Negro channel. If you just arrived, please follow, like, and share on all platforms. On YouTube, subscribe below. Turn on notifications by clicking the bell and leave that awesome like on the video. We're here thanks to Haroldo's Caravan. And man, today is a decisive day, isn't it, for you? I want to thank each one of our followers who made sure to be at Maracanã today and gave value to the Carioca Championship. We had several people booking the hospitality package with the Brasileirão and Carioca, right? So that's really important. Enjoy it. Spend a few days in Rio de Janeiro. A complete package with Haroldo's Caravan. They are spectacular and won't let you down, so I want to thank them for their service. It's always there in the description, pinned comment, and I have to say you really get a lot, man, because it's a top-notch service, first rate, first class, totally, all right? So you have a ticket included in the Rio de Janeiro reception and complete packages, and then they give you all the instructions also during the trips. For example, with the Recopa and South American Cup, you can secure everything thanks to Haroldo's Caravan. We arrive with all our sponsors. Also, always thank Mais Cabello, right? The Mais Slim program for healthy weight loss without hair loss with medical supervision. I'm at my best moment, man, maybe since I was 20 when it comes to health, so I can only thank all the treatment I've been doing with Mais Cabello, the Mais Slim program. And also, of course, you know that it's all over Brazil. There's always a Mais Cabello near you anywhere in Brazil. Man, I'm going to start right away by talking about Richarlison's situation. Yesterday, we had Thiago Asmar bringing the news that Richarlison had already given his word to Filipe Luís. Let's listen to what Thiago Asmar said about Richarlison.
Here's some exclusive info about this situation. Richarlison is one of the most wanted names by Flamengo for the mid-year transfer window, and Richarlison has already given his word to Filipe Luís, okay? That's the information. Richarlison gave his word to Flamengo's coach.
And I'm going to bring you an exclusive right after this.
If he comes back to Brazil, he'll come back to Flamengo. Pulhado, but is there anything certain yet? Richarlison wants to stay at Tottenham. He wants to stay here.
It's the middle of the year.
Just giving a heads up about the World Cup, right? The call up for the World Cup, and then there are two possible destinations or a return to Brazil. He already gave his word to Filipe Luís that the priority will be Flamengo or Arab football because Richarlison is also considering it a lot after the World Cup and to Saudi Arabia, right? Arab football has already shown interest in Richarlison a few times, and the amounts involved are very high. Okay, so middle of the year, World Cup is over. Richarlison, is he going to Arab football?
Look at this.
Or to Flamengo? Why? Because he gave his word to Filipe Luís that if he comes back to Brazil, the club will be Flamengo. So, exclusive information.
There you go, exclusive information from Thiago Asmar. I confirmed this information with a source connected to the board. And let's go. The first news here, exclusive to the video, right? Saturday morning, Flamengo and Sampaio Correa morning. It's that Richarlison, he really gave his word to Filipe Luís. It wasn't to Flamengo, okay, guys, it was to Filipe Luís that he's going to play on Filipe Luís's team, which is Flamengo. It would last until 2027. Contract ends in 2027. So, Richarlison gave his word to Filipe Luís that he will play on his team after he decides to return to Brazil. When he returns to Brazil, he'll play on Filipe Luís's team. If it's now, in the middle of the year, Filipe will still be Flamengo's coach, so he will become a Flamengo player if he really decides to return to Brazil. The information I have, which I shared with you and is exclusive, is that Flamengo will not let itself be guided by social media or public opinion. There's even an exception being made regarding Richarlison's age because Flamengo had the idea of only signing players up to 26 years old. But Regarding Richarlison, Flamengo is making this exception and will in fact try to sign Richarlison. Regardless of public opinion, it's a decision, it's Filipe Luís' wish. Filipe trusts the player's work, trusts the striker, and believes he's the player Flamengo needs. In the case of Caio Jorge's situation, if Flamengo really can't sign him, he believes it's the best option. So even with all the rejection from a large part of Flamengo's fans, Filipe Luís has already made this decision. Okay, guys? If Richarlison has agreed to return to Brazil and promised Flamengo he's coming, if he really wants to return to Brazil, Richarlison is the option. The choice has already been made, okay? But the fans don't like the name and all that. Filipe Luís is the chosen name by the coaching staff for Flamengo. There are other options, but they tried. Evanilson, there are other options, but today Flamengo believes that the player to sign, regardless of public opinion, is Richarlison. And honestly, I think he's an excellent player. I think Pedro is better than Richarlison, but he's really not having a great moment. He has everything to improve. To me, Pedro and Caio Jorge are the best Brazilian strikers right now. But honestly, Richarlison doesn't seem like a player who would be well accepted by Flamengo's fans. And that, for me, matters a lot. When a player is rejected by a large part of the fans, that can really matter to me. But that's the decision, okay? If Richarlison wants to come back to Brazil, Flamengo will sign Richarlison. As for Arabia, we know they pay high amounts there. Here's what a Flamengo board source told me. If he wants to return to Brazil, it'll be Flamengo, period. Now, the thing is that in Arabia, instead of paying the clubs they're signing from, they take all that money and put it into the player's salary, offer astronomical salaries, shower the guy with gifts, shower the guy with money. Arabia then becomes tempting. So, this matter of Richarlison going to Flamengo or Saudi Arabia will really depend on his desire to return to Brazil, and not the financial part, which the Arabs always manage to surpass somehow. The financial part of Brazilian clubs, even Flamengo with a lot of money. But there's the situation that they might lose their main sponsorship. The clubs might lose their main betting sponsorship because that's still going to be voted on. I believe that this will only be resolved around the middle of 2027. So before that, Flamengo is still fine. Let's talk here about this compliment from Dorival Jr. In an interview with TNT Sports, Dorival Jr. praised coach Filipe Luís. He said the following: he who beat Filipe in the Super Cup final said Filipe is an extremely prepared, intelligent, and dedicated professional. I have no doubt that he will be one of the greatest coaches in Brazilian soccer. And that, I'm just going to wait a while to see that confirmation because he has ability, quality, and work development like no one else. He will still find his way in life, just like the things that have been happening in such a short time. Man, I agree. Okay, I've already said it here. We might complain about one mistake or another from Filipe Luís, but Filipe Luís is a great coach. He learned a lot and grew really fast. Okay, that's the reality. Look, according to GE, the Brazilian Football Confederation plans to discuss reducing the number of relegated teams from 4 to 3 in the Brazilian Championship. I heard some information after that. I talked to a source connected to Flamengo's board, and this source told me they're against it. They're against these changes, like reducing the number of relegated teams and reducing the number of promotions. And it doesn't make much sense to do that because it devalues the Brazilian Championship. It devalues Brazilian soccer. Why would you change what is 2 or 4 everywhere in the world to 3? If you want to do something different, if you want to change the championship just for the sake of changing, then this source close to Flamengo's management said that's nonsense. That's silly. This idea of changing from 4 to 3, they would even accept the idea of having a playoff to decide. The other two go up directly and the other 2 through playoffs to give more chances. That way, 6 teams would fight for promotion. That way you don't get to the final stretch with the 4 qualified teams just playing friendly matches and all that. So in that sense, he even understands, this person I talked to even understands, but he's also against it, right? The organization wants to reduce the number of foreign players because what this source connected to the board told me is absurd. Now that Flamengo has many foreign players, people say it's not allowed, there will be a limit, or the limit will be reduced. How does that work? You hire more, spend more, and now they want to cut back again. That makes no sense. Flamengo is against this reduction, not just because it will be bad for them, but it's a matter of you create a rule, you allow it, you go there and hire. Now you have the obligation to sell because you can't register those players. So I understand and I agree with that. If it's already allowed, why not? And it's different from the synthetic turf. In that sense, they agree. The issue of synthetic turf has to be reduced. Synthetic turf has to be avoided. We need a few years to resolve this and end synthetic turf for good. You can have a hybrid turf like at Maracanã and some others, but a synthetic turf, 100% synthetic, is no longer acceptable. So we talked to this source connected to the board regarding these changes that are currently being discussed at the Brazilian Football Confederation. Look, we have a done deal, a confirmed deal at Flamengo. It's really a done deal. Actually, there are 2 deals because the deal with Richarlison, if he agrees to come to Brazilian football, is a done deal. Flamengo has already decided that they want Richarlison to return to Brazilian football. They want Richarlison on their team, regardless of the fans. There is some rejection. And so we have the news here about Iago, okay? The defender has already been negotiated with Orlando City. He arrived here yesterday, okay? He arrived this Friday in the United States to sign a contract with Orlando City, okay? Exclusive information from journalist Angelo Furtado. At the moment, only final details are missing to seal the deal, and both parties believe the agreement will be closed later today. Everything's ready. He's traveled and just needs medical exams, so he should be announced later today. So, for Orlando City, he's going to play here in Orlando. That's right, Orlandia, let's go. I'll also bring you the information about the game, but first I have some important information to share with you. It's about Luís Araujo. Danilo, right? Danilo is back. He returned. Okay, Danilo is back. Today, in the game against Sampaio Correa, he's back on the squad, right? After dealing with a personal matter that kept him out of the game against International. Luís Araujo will likely miss Flamengo's game this Saturday. This information was brought by GE and confirmed by our team. He's still feeling muscle pain, okay? The player underwent tests that revealed a minor injury, so he hasn't played since the 25th in the loss to Fluminense. So, it's a minor injury. That's about Luís Araujo, him again, right? Missing from Flamengo? I really like Luís. He's missed and always another option for us. So the player is out of this match according to GE and also from the information we've gathered here. Okay, out of the match against Sampaio Correa, Flamengo is trying to get the player back for the next games. Let me talk about this. Let's bring the game information first, and right after that, I'll talk about Abel Ferreira. Okay, yeah, So there's the game today at 9 post-meridium in Brazil, 7 post-meridium here in Orlando. If you're outside the country, you can watch the game on Flamengo television with video, even abroad. Okay, guys, abroad? Then people ask me, hey, didn't you say it? For outside Brazil? With video commentary by João Guilherme, Spanish commentary, video broadcast for abroad outside Brazil. All right? Yeah, it's Carioca Day. Information for you, 9 post-meridian Maracanã, Sport Television on cable, Premiere on pay-per-view, GE Television on YouTube. That's in Brazil, okay? So, abroad, Flamengo television with video, and Flamengo's lineup is likely, man. I'll tell you guys that my information, I don't like to leak anything about the lineup, but my information is different from Globo Esporte, okay? Globo, Sportlists Rossi, Varela, Léo Pereira, Léo Ortiz, Ovitão, Ayrton Lucas, Pulgar, Or Everton Araújo, Jorginho, Arrascaeta, Or Carrascal, Paquetá, Or Plata, Samuel, Lino, Cebolinha, and Pedro. Also, man, putting a bunch of names in parentheses like that is easy, right? For me, okay? He might go with Andrew today. I could be wrong, but he might give Andrew some playing time. Yeah, he'll go with Varela. Danilo still isn't starting. It would be Leo Pereira, Ovitão, and Ayrton Lucas, Everton, Araújo. Jorginho missed the last game due to suspension. Yeah, I believe he'll put Carrascal in, or here's a unique note, Carrascal or Paquetá in the midfield. I don't think he'll start with Arrascaeta. Let's see, it's either Paquetá or Carrascal in the midfield. If he uses Carrascal, Paquetá will be on the right? Or Plata and Paquetá coming in during the match and on the left. I think he's going with Samuel Lino, even with Cebolinha available. Well, he'll give Samuel Lino some minutes to see if Samuel Lino starts to stand out, right? Because it's a game where you can use the player. Exactly against Sampaio Correa to see if he stands out, because if not against Sampaio Correa, who had one of the worst group stage campaigns, but Flamengo did too. But that was unusual, right? They used the youth squad and all. But if you can't stand out against Sampaio Correa with your professional squad players, then you just give up, right, my brother? Then you'll have to change everything for next year, right? And in the attack, right? Pedro Ali, I agree, he should be Filipe Luiz's choice. Yeah, the absences. Yeah, I already said Luís Araújo Saúl is still recovering from surgery on his left ankle. De La Cruz is available, okay? This is the probable lineup for Sampaio Correa. Zé Carlos, Lucas Carvalho, Lucas Marreta will hammer to the other side. Guilherme and Daniel Nunes, Pablo Alexandre Souza, Otávio and Rodrigo Andrade, Luan Gama and Mateus Lacovelli. Okay, the coach is Antonio Carlos Roy, and the referee is Alex Gomes Estefano Uvar, Paulo Renato Moreira da Silva Coelho. That's right. These are the details for the game later at 9 post-meridium at Maracanã. Look, here are two important pieces of information now. Yeah, things went badly for Gerson and his dad, didn't they? According to Entertainment and Sports Programming Network, the Rio de Janeiro court ordered midfielder Gerson to be summoned to respond to the 42.7 million lawsuit filed by Flamengo. The summons order was published this Friday and is addressed to FGM Sports, Marcon's company, right? Marco Silva, Gerson's father, right? Who is the athlete Marcon, the player's agent. Marcon is still unaware of the situation and will wait for the case to arrive before making a statement in the records. The case is under seal. In the 20th, what secrecy, huh? Imagine if it wasn't the 20th. Civil Court of Rio de Janeiro since January 14th. The value of the case is 42,750,000 reais. Look, Lucas Lemper, get your treat. Carlos Elias serves you right, huh? The fans, that's how it is, man. Is it really worth having done what you did and now having to answer in a case like this? Man, what if you lose, then what? The justice system? They seize everything, man. There's no way out, right? MG Martins Carão, the father of this guy, he seems sad. A contract is a contract, right? Is it Charles Balzana? Career management requires professionalism. It's not about affection. That's true. That's true. Look, Andrezinho is Rob 01. If it's in the contract, you have to pay. And look at Carlos saying it. Nobody dies owing us. Look at that. Nobody dies owing us. A fan sent this. Nobody dies owing us. So that's the situation with Gerson's father, who will have to respond to this lawsuit, right? So Flamengo, as I mentioned today, they must give everything and play like their life depends on it to avoid an unprecedented situation and escape the dreaded Carioca relegation playoff, right? Yeah? Flamengo needs a win, at least so they can depend on any of the other three results. The ideal, the perfect scenario is for Flamengo to win by 3 goals. So Flamengo needs to win big, right? And they need Volta Redonda or Bangu to lose their matches, needing to make up the goal difference, like I said, or for Nova Iguaçu not to beat Portuguesa. But Portuguesa is already in the top 4, so it's hard for us to manage that. So Portuguesa needs to beat Nova Iguaçu or even draw with Nova Iguaçu. Let's see, right? There's still a remote possibility of advancing with a draw, but only if Nova Iguaçu suffers a defeat by 5 or more goals without scoring, which is considered extremely unlikely. All right, so Flamengo's situation is that they have to do their part and hope that others do theirs for Flamengo as well. What a situation, right, my friends? In the Carioca Championship, I get it, it's complicated. We've reached the moment to talk about Abel Ferreira's situation, okay? He mentioned the red and black team. He's joking there, honey. Thanks. Breakfast just arrived here. Yeah, he was joking until now. Now he's already upset. I put him there joking so I could record. Look, Tim is complaining. He's complaining, guys. Here's the thing. Let's go. So, we've reached the moment about Abel Ferreira being the coach. He criticized Corinthians in São Paulo, right? And he put Flamengo on the same level as Palmeiras, and he ended up defending Flamengo. Who would have thought, right? Actually, he's defending the two clubs that are dominating Brazilian soccer. With Palmeiras signings like Arias, they're going to compete. Many people are saying this now. The rivalry between Flamengo and Palmeiras will keep growing over the next 5 years as both teams keep winning. More Brasileirão, more Libertadores. I think that's what's going to happen. There will come a time when we'll say this. There's not much reason for the hate between Flamengo and Palmeiras. We just take turns winning titles, and Abel is part of it. They're the dominant clubs. Recently, Flamengo and Palmeiras have set the bar for title expectations in Brazilian football. That shouldn't be the case. Abel criticized the differing expectations after the Vitória match. About rivals like Corinthians and São Paulo, who also invest heavily but don't face the same pressure for achievements, open quotes. If teams like São Paulo and Corinthians are super competitive this year as they are against Palmeiras and Flamengo and compete for the national title, we should also demand from them because they invest enough to compete with us. Palmeiras and Flamengo, okay? In other words, he's complaining that the media, the press, doesn't put pressure on Corinthians, São Paulo, or Fluminense, who are out there trying to sign Boanga, right? And all that. Those guys sign a lot of players. Look at Botafogo. They paid, then they found a way, borrowed some money, paid, and got it done. The transfer ban will sign many players, so everything's fine again, right? Vale can do anything, but if it were Flamengo, so why isn't Botafogo held accountable, spending what they spent? Last year, Botafogo was the team that spent the most in 2025. They didn't win anything. And why aren't these guys held accountable? Abel, are you sure about this? I agree with him. Didn't think I'd side with Abel again so soon, but he's right. And the pressure is really different when it comes to Flamengo and Palmeiras. There's always much more pressure. That's it. I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on notifications by clicking the bell, and leave a cool like on the video. Red and black greetings from Flamengo. Thanks, I'm out.